Our gospel reading this morning is from Matthew chapter 28, verses 1 to 14. After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord, descending from heaven, came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." While they were going, some of the guards went into the city and told the chief priests everything that had happened. After the priests had assembled with the elders, they devised a plan to give a large sum of money to the soldiers, telling them, "You must say, 'His disciples came by night and stole him away while we were asleep.' If this comes to the governor's ears, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Easter Sunday has always been a day of celebration, a day of triumphant and exuberant praise, proclaiming the resurrection of Jesus and the new life he makes possible for us all. Rafter-rattling hymns and anthems, masses of flowers, shouts of Christ is risen, churches packed with family and friends and visitors. Most of us have memories of Easter past that make us smile, that make us anticipate this Sunday as the victorious counterpoint to Christmas. This year, it's different. Our Easter celebrations today are marked more by what is not here, by what's missing, rather than by what is present. Our church is empty. No hymns are being sung by a congregation over 100 strong. No Easter lilies, no anthems, no joyous hugs and hand clasps, no big extended family dinners, no community Easter egg hunts. I will stop there. But this is not the first Easter Sunday, marked not by what is present, but rather by what is missing. For almost 2,000 years, yes, Christians have formally celebrated the resurrection of Jesus from the dead together. The earliest written evidence of an Easter celebration is from only 100 years after Jesus' resurrection, but we probably started commemorating this pivotal moment of our faith even earlier than that. But even further back in time from then, there was one Easter Sunday that was not unlike our quiet Easter Sunday today. After Good Friday, after that final blow-up between Jesus and the religious authorities that led to his death, his disciples and friends were in a kind of self-isolation. They were hiding from those same authorities, afraid to go out of their homes because they might be recognized and arrested or killed. And they were grieving and confused as well. Jesus, their teacher and their friend, this man who could do such extraordinary things, who made them hope for impossible things, was dead. They had lost so much, and so they were hunkered down, isolated and afraid. Only two women, perhaps trusting to their gender to make them unworthy of notice, slipped out and went to the tomb so that they could properly care for Jesus' body. Things started to get interesting. All at once, the ground shakes and an angel appears and the stone blocking the tomb is rolled back. The soldiers left stationed at the tomb to guard it fall down unconscious. The angel says, as angels usually do, "Don't be afraid." And now we find another space, unexpectedly empty on Easter morning. You seek Jesus who was crucified, but he is not here, for he is risen, just as he said. And the angel invites the two women to examine the empty tomb. And then he gives them a message, and they take off to find the others, crashing into Jesus himself on the way. These first preachers proclaiming the empty tomb, the good news of Christ resurrected and alive. We'll let those two courageous, joyous women go on their way. We know where they're going, and we'll pick up that story of how the good news crashed into and revived the faith and hope of Christ's followers. Right now, though, come back with me to the empty tomb. The women have run off, the angel is gone, but we have two unconscious soldiers to deal with. We can imagine that they awoke, saw the chaos of the scene, the stone rolled back, the tomb empty. And they go to the Jewish religious authorities, and this second pair of preachers also proclaim the empty tomb, but it's very bad news as far as they're concerned. Dereliction of duty, falling asleep on the job, they'd be executed themselves most likely, if they got caught. So the religious authorities make a deal with them. We won't rat on you if you tell everyone that Jesus' followers came and stole the body in the night. Now, we 21st century people, we think of ourselves as pretty sophisticated, rational thinkers. That there's been this kind of trajectory of advancement in thinking that makes us a little bit more worldly than past generations. So we forget sometimes that the idea of someone coming back to life after they die, of God raising someone from the dead, was just as difficult for those ancient people to believe in as it is for us. They weren't stupid. Life was short and hard back then, and they would have seen many people die. Jesus' miracles aside, no one had come back to life. Faced with the incomprehensible, something impossible, friends and enemies of Jesus alike tried to come up with an explanation. Someone must have taken the body or hidden it away. The body was never really in that tomb in the first place. He was never really dead, only unconscious or pretending. Anything but the truth. The tomb was definitely empty. Everyone agreed on that, whether it was good news or bad news. Jesus was not there. And that's as close to a fact as we can get. The tomb is really empty. He is not there. So where is he? The angel and all Christ's followers, even the skeptical ones, say that he is risen and alive. The very unbelievability of the story kind of makes it more believable. Surely if you were trying to start a new religious movement, it would be easier to sell people on the idea of a martyr or a vanished, taken up into heaven body, rather than a resurrected and alive one. Most of what Jesus taught about his resurrection during his life had been misunderstood at the time anyway. And surely you'd pick legally acceptable witnesses. Women, after all, were not allowed to testify to things in court. If you're trying to create an easy-to-accept, appealing new religion, this resurrected, bodily alive, walking, talking, eating Jesus is a terrible origin story. No one sensible would make this up. So we're left with trusting the angel, trusting the women and the other followers of Jesus, trusting the witness of Christians from that moment to this. The tomb is empty because Christ is risen. For 2,000 years, Christians have been celebrating and proclaiming that truth, not just on Easter, not just in church, every Sunday, every day, in homes, in hospitals, in books and greeting cards, over the phone, in person, online, every place that we are, every place where hope and healing and love are needed. Jesus is alive, and that tomb, once a symbol of defeat and of the end of hope, has been transformed into a message of life. Jesus is risen, just as he said. And that puts everything else Jesus said in a new light. All his teachings and miracles and insights, it means more and makes more sense. It's like if you've ever watched a TV show or read a book and you get almost to the very, very end, And then there's this totally unexpected twist in the story. You sit there shocked and surprised, and then you flip back through the book or rewatch old episodes, and sure enough, signs of that major plot twist are there. It's kind of like that. Jesus is alive, and maybe, just maybe, every other impossible-sounding thing that he ever said or taught has been made possible now too. That new way of living that he was always talking about, that kingdom life that he taught and demonstrated, a life grounded in justice and generosity, humility and love, a life of being a good neighbor to all, of being transformed, healed and made whole and set free. The empty tomb, Christ risen and alive, means all that is possible for us right now. From being the teacher to becoming the truth of the teaching, the resurrection of Jesus, the good news of that empty tomb, is that we can experience and even participate in that new resurrection life. The empty tomb changes how we live now, and it also gives us hope for a future where that kingdom life of abundance and love is the whole world's new normal for all eternity. So let's celebrate what we're missing today. Let's celebrate the empty tomb and even our empty church. Both are signs of life. Our empty churches and that empty tomb stand witness to love. Their silence proclaims that love and hope for the future, and that lives are being saved right now. The tomb, on that first fearful, cautious Easter Sunday, really was empty. Jesus really was raised from the dead. He really is still alive, and he really is still right here, and right where you all are too, in our every act of love and kindness, of generosity and justice and compassion and hope. Jesus lives, and so do we. Thanks be to God. Amen.